You're welcome back to the conversation. Moving on now, neighbouring countries of coup-hit Niger, including Nigeria, have not ruled out the possibility of a military intervention, according to Nigeria's President Bola Tinubu. However, Nigeria's president, who also heads the ECOWAS bloc, believes that diplomacy remains the preferred approach to resolving the crisis. The military rulers, who defied a deadline to reinstate President Mohamed Bazoum, have shown resistance to negotiations and instead held a rally in the capital, Niamey. The region, grappling with a series of coups fueled by jihadist insurgencies, faces the risk of destabilization with potential humanitarian and security consequences. Now, joining me this evening on the program is Mahdi Shehu, Chairman Dialogue Group, who is also a human rights activist. Mr. Shehu, it's a pleasure to have you join us on the program this evening.
Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening to you. Now, the recent coup in Niger has undoubtedly sent shockwaves through the region. Could you provide us with an analysis of how this crisis has affected the overall stability of West Africa and its neighbors and its neighboring countries?
Yeah, thank you very much for having me. And let me begin by saying that there are certain indices, certain parameters, a yardstick, if you like, a situation where coup becomes just a matter of time and it becomes inevitable, where people have no food to eat, no shelter over their heads, with 70% unemployment rate, with a per capita of 15 billion naira, no water, no sanitation, education ground zero, health ground zero. Yet they are being extorted by a foreign power, taking away all their resources. Once their life expectancy, yes, is below the standard acceptable, it means people are going to be frustrated, they will be angry, they are hungry, they will be pushed to a wall. And if you are pushed to a wall you cannot climb, the only option for you is to fall back. Niger people fall back because they have been pushed to a wall. You cannot push people to a wall and expect them to continue hanging to the wall. That is what made coup matured in Niger Republic. Secondly, when foreign powers such as France refuse to liberate Niger from hunger, starvation, disease, decay, ignorance, lack of sanitation, they are only postponing the D-Day.
But Mahdi, people will tell you that Niger Republic is an independent country of France. They got their independence so many years ago. So how is it France's responsibility to liberate Niger?
They are only independent in code. Their reserve is in the French currency. Their budget is being determined by French currency. Their capital project is determined by French. Every other zone of Niger is France except the name Niger. Nothing independent about Niger. Maybe you have not been there. If you have ever visited Niger, you will come back with pains of man's inhumanity to man. With the deposit of uranium they have no reason to be in penury. But they are currently the second poorest country in the world. The second, the most traumatized country in the world. The most backward country in the world. The most dispossessed country in the world. And the most pauperized country in the world. Under this situation, anything can happen. Before the coup in Niger, everybody was on his own. God for them all, survival of the fittest, and the...
Now, thank you very much, Mr. Shehu, for giving us that background. Now, let's look at the recent events that have played out in the last 1 week. The ECOWAS issued an ultimatum for the military junta to restore power back to Mohamed Bazoum. The deadline expired under the threat of military intervention, and there was no military intervention. Our president, Nigeria's President Bola Tinubu, who chairs ECOWAS, seems to be advocating for diplomacy. That was the advice the National Assembly gave him. But he's not entirely ruling out the use of force. Now, can you delve deeper into the delicate balancing act he's attempting to strike between the approaches and the potential implications of his strategy? Because others will be watching. Look, this is a dangerous move here. There might be a contagion effect of this coups. If we don't act on the junta in Niger, you might be enabling or sending a message that ECOWAS is weak and they can only sanction or issue threats on paper, but will never carry out this military intervention. What's your take on this, sir? Hello, Magdi Shehu, are you there? Okay, we seem to have some connection issues with our guest. We hope to have him back soon. We've been discussing the Economic Community of West African States decision not to rule out force ahead of this summit tomorrow. The ECOWAS heads of states will be meeting in the Nigerian capital, Abuja, to discuss the latest developments with regards to the coup in Niger. What we know so far is that yesterday, the Undersecretary of State, Patricia Newland, was in Niger. She met with some junior officers, and the government in Niger still appears to be defiant. They rejected a delegation that was sent by ECOWAS to negotiate with the head of the junta, saying, look, we cannot guarantee your safety because you've issued sanctions, very strong sanctions against our country. So we can't guarantee your safety if you are in Nigerian territory. And that was the message they gave them. The ECOWAS delegation could not visit Niger. We also know that the military juntas in Mali and Burkina Faso have pledged some sort of allegiance to the government in Niger, saying an attack on Niger will be an attack on them. And on Sunday, there was a massive show of support in the stadium in the capital, Niamey. Thousands of Nigerians trooped in to show support for the military junta in Niamey. So it's getting more interesting, it's getting more delicate, and we will try to see what the deliberation is in Abuja tomorrow between the ECOWAS heads of state to know what step will be taken next. We do know that Nigeria's president just yesterday issued a second round of financial sanctions against the regime. Those who supported the regime and, of course, the hierarchy, the head of the junta and those involved in undermining democracy in Niger. Now, Mr. Shehu, President Bazoum, despite being democratically elected, has been detained since July the 26th. How does his absence affect this crisis, and what insight could you provide into his potential role in navigating through this turbulent times? ECOWAS is saying, you know, this military option is not off the table. The United States has called for his release. What step do you anticipate ECOWAS might take? And the junta seems to be digging in, and it seems there's no going back for them. So how do we get out of this conundrum?
Well, already ECOWAS is at war with Niger Republic. Complete war is taking place currently in Niger Republic. Lights cut off, land border, airspace, sea closed down. They have stopped every import into Niger Republic. Not only that, some moment ago, just today, Bola Tinubu said that all companies and individuals currently doing business in Niger Republic, they will be blocked. Their transaction will be blocked by CBN. So what else are you looking for? This is full war. What is remaining is to move troops into Niger. to annihilate Niger, as if they are expecting Niger and other allies to fold their arms. They will not fold their arms. In any event, this is the hypocrisy of 21st century of ECOWAS. Where was ECOWAS when 5 other African countries have taken over government and is being managed by military head of states? Where were they? Were they sleeping? No. Were they in slumber? No. Where were they? They looked away because there is no visible economic interest in those countries. Niger is important to America, is important to France, is important to the whole of Europe. Why is it important? Because Russia is an extreme determining factor in the energy being consumed by Europe. They determine the consumption. More than 80% of the energy requirement of Europe is determined by Russia. And that is giving Russia and America and France sleepless nights. That was why America and Chevron funded a pipeline lane that will pass through Niger to the entire Europe, costing $13 billion. If this $13 billion...
I really, sorry to interrupt you, Mr. Mahdi Shewa. I really wish you could go on, but we've fast run out of time. It was an absolute pleasure speaking with you, and look forward to engaging further on this discussion in the nearest future. Thanks for your time and insight.
Thank you.
This is where we wrap up the conversation today. The first half of the program, we did look at the political situation in Zimbabwe, and we just concluded our conversation on the recent coup in Niger with the chairman of ECOWAS, Nigeria's President Bola Tinubu, not ruling out a military option on the table. Thank you very much for being a part of the conversation. I'm Benga Abura. See you next time. Bye-bye.